So, among some in my family, I became public enemy number one after my wedding last weekend. I still believe that I am not anywhere near as bad as it's being suggested I am, but don't want to flog a dead horse if I am in the wrong. My now husband and I never planned to have children at our wedding. A combination of the small venue and lack of our own children in our immediate family, for example nieces or nephews, plus nowhere in the budget for costs for childcare or separate entertainment left us firm in the view that we didn't want kids at the wedding. This was made clear from the get-go. Save the dates were sent out a year in advance with it clear that children weren't going to be invited, and although a couple of our distant cousins and friends of friends tried to kick up a fuss, we stayed firm and reminded these people that we were sending out information in advance so they could decide in good time what they wanted to do, which we believed was well received. About 3 weeks before the big day, one of our friends had an unexpected issue that would mean that they wouldn't be coming to the wedding. By this time everything was non-refundable for seats/meals, and so we decided to try to find someone already attending who could have a +1, but preferably someone we knew. +1s had also been an issue regarding random guests of guests, so we thought it would be best to control it. We settled on one of my best friend's little brother, who is 16, 17 and 2 weeks. I've known Joe for as long as I've known his sister, my BFF, and had no issue with trusting him, mainly because while he is legally a child in my country, he's mature and responsible. We got Joe's confirmation and thought that would be it. Halfway through the wedding reception, literally just before the parents' dance, which ruined it, one of my aunts pulled me to the side and started shouting at me about how come my friend could bring her baby brother while one of her kids couldn't bring their 2-year-old. I said that it was a last-minute change and that Joe wasn't as much of a cost/concern as an actual child. For the rest of the day, there were whispers from both sides of our family about how much their young grandchild, etc. would have enjoyed the day, and how it was one rule for one and another for others. No one else was as vocal to me as my aunt, but it still put a dampener on the day. My mum told me a couple of days ago that while she agreed with me that inviting Joe, who had a great time and made friends with some of my husband's 19-year-old cousins, wasn't as much of a problem as it seemed, I should apologize to keep the peace since she'd be fielding some complaints from our family. I don't see why this is necessary, but would be willing to if I'm actually wrong in this situation. Not the idiot. This is nothing to do with them. If they want the kids to have a good day out, then let them organize a day out for their kids. Your wedding, your rules. They should feel ashamed of themselves for berating you on your wedding day. I hate weddings with a passion, but I know how to forget it for a few hours and behave as it's nice that they thought enough of me to invite me in the first place. Hope you have a good honeymoon. No idiots here. But I would not have filled the seat with a 16-year-old when kids are banned. I would have kept it empty and found someone else to invite. I had 2 cancellations shortly before my wedding, so my dad invited 2 of his co-workers whom he was friends with to my wedding. They knew that were fill-ins for last-minute cancellations, and since they did not know me personally, they were not offended to not have been invited initially. They had a good time and I met them briefly at the reception. Not the idiot. If the kids that didn't get invited were around the same age, then I could maybe see the issue, but a 2-year-old? Screw that. A friend of mine got married a couple of years ago and had a similar no kids policy. The wife and I thought it was great because we actually got to enjoy the day without running around after our 2-year-old. It's your wedding and you do what you want. No need to apologize to anybody. I'm the middle of 3. I have a younger sister, 25, and an older brother, 30. I'm 27. My parents, over the years, saved up $30,000 to be split between my sister and me for when we eventually got married, which would be $15,000 each. My sister got engaged before me, and they planned their wedding for April 2020. As you can imagine, this couldn't happen. They'd picked an all-inclusive venue and spent the entire $15,000. Unfortunately, their venue has been horrible, denied any refund. Wedding insurance doesn't cover pandemics and they're now going under anyway. The $15,000 is just gone. My sister now wants to elope, which my parents and other family are absolutely horrified by. She and her fiancé say they can't afford to pay for a wedding themselves because of their job situations. The only thing she has from the first wedding that she could take to a second is her wedding dress, which would still need to be altered. The women in the family have been crying about it in every conversation I've had with them and begging my sister to not elope. They'll figure it out. My parents now want to take the other $15K and give my sister another wedding, obviously at a different venue. It ended up being a huge fight of accusing me of blaming my sister for causing the pandemic, wanting her to elope and not get her wedding because I'm jealous, and why save it when I'm still single and will be for years now anyway. I'm 27. I'm not an old maid. I'm not jealous of my sister. I was happy for her before all this, but it would have been nice to know that when I got married, my parents could help me out too. I'm not saying it's her fault that the first one didn't happen, but factually she would be getting 2 weddings paid for and I'll be getting 0. It's probably happening regardless of what I say, but am I wrong to be a little angry about it? Not the idiot, it was appropriate to state your position, but I hope you didn't do it in an angry way or it just makes you look bad. If your sister has any class, she'll just elope and let all the women in the family be upset. Your sister knows she spent her share and apparently is aware that anything more would come out of your hide. You might have better luck lobbying your sister than your mother. COVID-19 cost me a fully paid cruise package for 3. I had trip insurance but the pandemic wasn't covered. It bothered me for weeks but I've decided to just let it go. It's nobody's fault. I'm sorry you are dealing with this. No idiots here. Your sister is engaged to be married right now. You're not engaged. You're not even dating. Who knows when you'll get married and what the circumstances will be. Maybe you or your fiancé or his family could afford the wedding. Maybe your parents will have years to save up again. Your brother didn't even get any money for a wedding. In any case, I think a fair compromise would be to each get $7,500. Your sister can put together a modest wedding for that. You are the idiot. It's their money and they can spend it how they want. They promised to pay for her to have a wedding and they are. And you don't know that your parents won't be able to help pay for your eventual wedding too. Give them a chance to come through for both their daughters. If they let you down when it is time for you to get married, you can get mad then. But for now, it is a little premature. I have a wife, Wilhelma, 40, and 2 sons, Sam, 17, and Scott, 16. 6 years ago, I ran to the gas station to buy some cigarettes. Instead of abandoning my family, just a joke, I decided to also buy a lottery ticket for everyone, just for fun. It was a blast. We all talked all night about what we would do with our winnings, where we would go, etc. I mean, this was all fantasy anyway, right? But I specifically told my kids that they would have to share their winnings, and they would have to put it away for college first and foremost. Well, wouldn't you know it, Sam's ticket won. Of course, it's actually my ticket, and I had to claim it. It didn't win the jackpot, but after taxes, we walked away with $60K. I sat them both down and explained that I was going to save it all for college, but we could celebrate/splurge a little. They absolutely wanted a gaming system, and Wilhelma insisted on a family vacation that was much needed. We all agreed on this and saving the rest. I bought the gaming system and a bunch of games for about $1K. Wilhelma took over the vacation and insisted on a Disney World trip. The boys don't even like Disney, but it was always Wilhelma's dream to go, so we went. Another $5K. Last year, Sam wanted a car. Wilhelma was pretty tired of chauffeuring them around anyway, so I agreed and spent his $4K on a car. I pay the insurance, registration, and maintenance under the agreement that he takes over driving Scott to his stuff as well. Wilhelma had no complaints about any of these purchases. Since day one, I've actually invested the entire winnings and never dipped into it. I've always spent my own money on all this stuff. I have invested better than average, and that $60K is now $100K. Wilhelma knows I have always invested our money, but it was always small amounts since we're poor. She knows I was investing the lottery winnings as well. I've always told her about the money doing well, but I guess I never explicitly said how well. She also has never asked, as she has left our finances completely up to me. Sam is starting college in a few weeks, and we figured out a plan to stretch his $30K over the 4 years. While looking at the portfolio, Wilhelma noticed it was at $100K and asked how. I told her I invested the $60K and grew it to $100K. She then asked why we're only giving Sam $30K when it should be $50K. I said no, the other $40K is mine. I managed this account, I made the investments, I did all of the work. Plus I paid for all that other stuff through our other savings. The $40K stays and I'll keep investing it. If the boys need the money, it's there, but if not, I'm going to eventually retire a little early with it. She thinks I'm stealing his money since I wouldn't have been able to invest with it if I didn't have it, to begin with. I say it's always kind of been my money, and I'm still giving him the $30K I promised him since the beginning. Not the idiot, but I would treat very carefully. Money can ruin families. Make sure you're looking out for your whole family's interest. If your priority becomes counting every dollar and claiming what's actually yours, you may find yourself with $40K but no family. Just tread carefully. Listen to your wife and make sure she feels heard and respected. Don't dig your heels in. And don't alienate your children. You are the idiot who starts a college fund and then keeps the interest to themselves. Especially with how sneaky you were with the money, it's clear your perspective is an extremely selfish one. Also, back to the very first point, you said you bought tickets for each of your family members, then presented them as gifts. In what other context would it be okay to take back a gift that you had already given once you realized it was worth more? As I see it, none, without you becoming an idiot along the way. Not the idiot. Why should everyone get to benefit from this money but you? You sound like a great father and you deserve to retire early. You earned it by learning to use the stock market. If your kids want more money, they should learn how to grow money using the stock market. I'm only 20 and I'm in college. If it was me in this situation, I wouldn't feel entitled to the extra money you earned. I would be grateful if you let me keep $30K. My sister, 24, has been vegan for years. She met her husband, 25, in 11th grade. They watched some documentaries together. They've been annoying vegans ever since. They've calmed down a lot recently, though, which is nice, but man, those high school days were rough. Anyway, the three of us all live with my parents due to financial reasons, and since my parents won't let any of us pay rent, we do all the cooking cleaning. Now, as for me, I, 23, will never be vegan because my favorite food is fried chicken. Ever since I was little, I would always ask my mom to make fried chicken. I know how to butcher and fry my own chicken from scratch, and it's a weekly ritual for me. On fried chicken nights, I'll usually have my sister make the sides so she can make them vegan and still eat with us. The problem is, she always moans about how watching me butcher and fry the chicken makes her sick, and she's even tried getting me to do the butchering in another room while she's in the kitchen, which is never going to happen because that's both unreasonable and unsanitary. Well, here's where the story turns. My sister is pregnant, and now she's been craving fried chicken. She literally eats KFC behind her husband's back. She even bought a mini fridge to put in the garage behind the spare fridge, where she hides entire buckets and eats out of them throughout the course of a few days while her husband is away at work. He's a trucker. Needless to say, I find this hilarious. I keep telling her that she just needs to tell her husband and he'll understand. I know him really well. I don't think he'd freak out if she just explained it due to cravings, but she refuses because she's the one who made him go vegan in the first place, and she doesn't want to be a hypocrite. Now here's the story. Last week I'm frying up my chicken, and Bill is out on the road. My sister is behind me making the usual sides, and I notice she's staring at my chicken. As everything starts getting plated, she asked if she can just have a drumstick. No. The drumsticks are mine. Everyone in the family knows this. She then asks if she can have a thigh. No, those are Dad's favorite pieces. She asks for a wing, and no again, those are Mom's favorite pieces. She asks for a breast, and I say no again, because I like to save those for making wraps the next day for lunch, and she can eat her hippie crap she normally eats. She gets super angry at me, complaining loudly the rest of the time we're cooking, all the way to when we finally sit down for dinner. She manages to bully my parents into each giving her a wing and thigh from their own plates, and they're all still calling me an idiot for it. But it's my chicken. And after how much awful things she's given me for butchering my chickens, she can't just suddenly act as if she's entitled to it. Am I an idiot? I'm making fried chicken again tonight, so should I offer to share my chicken so my family doesn't get mad at me? Everyone's the idiot here, except the husband, who isn't really a part of the story. Your sister is lying to her husband. So not only is she a hypocrite, she's become a liar to hide it. That's not going to end well. She needs to get ahead of the conflict instead of avoiding it. At this point, she is going to break his trust. You need to stop being sanctimonious. Start buying chicken for an extra person. Your sister is clearly going to want it. Not the idiot. Because that's hilarious. The first time. She made a big freaking deal about how disgusting it was, so you respected her wishes and did not count her in the servings. So she wants your chicken. The honest answer is you did not make enough because she said she didn't want it. After this though, ask, do you want the chicken? If she says yes, make more. What would also be hilarious, although probably bad thing to do, is next time brother-in-law's in town, sweetly ask Sissy, should I make enough chicken for you again? You enjoyed it so much last time. You are the idiot, she's pregnant, give her some food. It doesn't sound like you made just enough and food was limited or something. You have excess, making lunch tomorrow. Did you even pay for the chicken? You're going to deprive your sister of food because of a lame principle you've made up just because she annoyed you in high school, as sisters do in high school. Just give her some and call her a hypocrite the whole time she eats it, and if she goes back to veganism after the baby's born, you have something to taunt her with for the rest of your life. I bought some land, including a house on a corner lot across from a school. There's a public park on the property which I also inherited. As far as I'm aware, this park has been open to the public for a couple of decades. I'm not super familiar as I'm relatively new to this town. It's one of 3 parks and obviously, it's heavily used due to the closeness of an elementary school. My lawyer says it's an easement, meaning the public is free to use it out of habit, tradition, yet it remains my responsibility. I guess the prior owner maintained it with some help from the town through the mayor's office and volunteers. The prior owner was a developer/philanthropist who did a lot of the small town. I don't like this because it opens me up to liability. I've asked the mayor's office if they'd like to hire surveyors to redraw property lines and consider it public property rather than my property, for free no less, and they've refused. They don't want the liability or the cost of hiring workers and lawyers to make it happen. Putting up signage or fences haven't really worked, so I want to uproot it all and just make it a lawn. Before this, when I had signage up, some of the parents of students at the school started a petition to save their park, not knowing it's privately owned and not part of the town's public spaces. Trying to reason with some of them fell on deaf ears. Would I be an idiot? Still working it out legally with my lawyer, else I'd have posted this on r/legal advice. I'm looking for moral, ethical opinions on whether I should or not. I just don't want a kid to get hurt. Parents go to the mayor sends them to me. Not the idiot. If you were just going to demolish the park because you felt like it, I'd say you're an idiot. But you are being put at considerable risk by this park. If the city won't take the land or indemnify you, it's totally reasonable to get rid of it. I think you should direct the petitioners to the mayor's office and tell them to force the city to take the land. They should be able to understand that. You are the idiot anyway. You should have been aware of the situation before you bought the house, and you should found a solution then. Sounds like you bought a mansion and don't want the responsibilities associated with it. As it is, the town will always be suspicious that you bought the house at a discount and now you're trying to shaft them. It's not unknown that the owner of the nicest house in town gives back to the community, is it? Not the idiot. You've offered to give the land back to the city, and they refused. You don't want the expense or the liability of dealing with the park, and the government, who rightly is responsible for community issues, is not taking action. You might speak to the neighbors doing the Save Our Park campaign and try to work out some sort of sale to them. That absolves you of your responsibility without making you the bad guy. If they want the park so badly, then they can take responsibility and liability for it.